Welcome back, Officers of the Republic. Is your Coruscant Underworld Police Chief APGAINS, and I am joined by everyone's favorite musical genius, prodigy, the Star Wars guy. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me back. It's a great day. Great day.
Absolutely fantastic day. Absolutely fantastic day in the Republic. Quick. I don't know if it's a disclaimer or a note before we start this video. I am almost at 3,000 subscribers, which means montage music is going to be released, which means we might do another video with the Star Wars guy where he breaks down how awful I am at singing. So if that's something you guys are interested in, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I know
Please
YouTubers...
hit the subscribe button because I'm very interested in doing that.
Yes, it would be absolutely hilarious. I've been secretly praying that we never reach that 3,000 subscriber mark because I regret the song more and more each day, but... That being said, let's jump into Bo-Katan's kit reveal. I won't go too in-depth into the kit reveal because I'm sure you guys have already seen videos explaining how she works. You've probably read it yourself. So we're simply going to talk about how we're going to utilize Bo-Katan to actually make the Mandalorians incredibly, incredibly powerful for the early to mid-game players, since I know a lot of people watch me for that early to mid-game content. We're going to talk about how she's going to be Jedi Knight Revan level in terms of Grand Arena viability. So right off the bat, she is obviously light side attacker, leader, Mandalorian scoundrel. The scoundrel tag and the Mandalorian tag are what's going to really help us in terms of her usefulness throughout our rosters. But we're going to simply focus on Mandalorians today. I'm going to quickly go over all of her abilities just in case you guys missed it. But her basically just does deal physical damage like everything else. Could also inflict a vulnerable unless it's her turn. Or if it's her turn, and if it's not her turn, she'll do 50% more damage. And they added this in here because they're going to be doing lots of assists, so oftentimes she's going to be basicing when it's not her turn. She's got a little AoE for her special ability, which is nice because it has a buff dispel and a daze, which is often useful for going against those defensive teams on Grand Arena. Lots of people love to throw their OR or whatever, things with pre-taunts, maybe they're bounty hunters. They do lots of assists or have lots of buffs, so this is going to be another useful skill, which is why she's going to be fantastic in Grand Arena. Now,
and
the Star Wars
I did
guy.
Read, by the way, a quick note on that first special. The animation, first of all,
it's ridiculous.
And second, I read it was taken directly from an episode of Clone Wars, so it was inspired. I love that they throw those little nuggets in there for us. But yeah, the animations of late on Beskar Mando and now Bo-Katan and a lot of other new characters, they really up their game. These animations are incredible. Razor Crest is the other one. One of his specials is really awesome.
Yeah, honestly, I've been more excited for the animations and the artwork than the actual characters themselves because I wish they would just go back and fix all of the like. I wish Dooku wasn't so ugly. Like, I love Dooku. He's one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, but he's so unbelievably hard to look at that I never like. I think he's still Gear 10 for me. I use him all the time. Still Gear 10 because he's just so darn ugly. I can't look at him. I wish they would update our characters.
I guess I finished him for the C farm. I guess he's relic 6 for me, right? He's relic 6 for C. I forget. Anyway, too many relics in that farm.
Oh yeah. All right, so her unique is where it starts to get really interesting, and this is why I say she's going to have Jedi and Jedi Knight Revan level viability for you early to mid game players. So her unique has a Zeta at the start of the battle. Mandalorian allies gain 20% max protection for each Mandalorian ally. Then until Bo-Katan's defeated. Yeah, Bo-Katan will never die, and I'll explain why. Whenever a Mandalorian attacks out of turn, Mandalorian allies recover 8% health and protection. So, here is why I think the Mandalorians are going to become a pretty powerful faction, and you guys should start farming them quickly if you want to get ahead of the curve. Everyone knows early game to mid game, Jedi are incredibly powerful. Bastila Shan, lead is going to be pretty much your most powerful team up until level 85 when you start to develop more and more teams for Grand Arena. You'd agree, Star Wars guy, right? For those early game players, that 200% protection up at the beginning.
And having to face a lot of those in my newer accounts, yes, it's very annoying.
It's very annoying. And it's ridiculous having all that protection up. So I've already talked about how the Armorer is kind of a Bastila Shan light in terms of it can give your Mandalorians those extra protection up at the beginning of the battle. And the reason this is so important, like you late game players who might be watching might think, well, this is actually not that impressive. 200% protection, you get rid of that. And then there's nothing really after that protection is over. But for early game players going into GAC, having that protection up that probably won't ever get taken out in the terms of the course of the battle. You guys know you use your Bastila Shan lead teams at Grand Arena, you're going to get max banners all the time because there's not many teams that are going to be able to get through that protection in the early game. Armor is right there with you, so you're going to have all that protection up. And then that Bo-Katan unique is going to add on that max protection for each Mandalorian unit, as well as the recovery just in case they accidentally punch through that health and protection up. Anything to add on how broken this is already? We're not even started on how broken Bo-Katan is.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say, it seems to me like we have, a leader in the armor and we have a leader in Bo-Katan, and there's clearly a defense and an offense there. Bo-Katan's kind of more the offensive leader, with the armor being more of the defense leader. And we see Bo-Katan's unique, which she doesn't have to be in the leader slot for, is going to help tack onto that armor's leadership ability as well. So that's a strong defensive comp for the Mandalorian team. And I have more to add probably as we get closer to the end of the video about the Mandalorian faction in general. So
Absolutely. So you guys know we use our bounty hunters, we use our bounty hunters, but use our Jedi on offense in the early stages of Grand Arena. We're talking Division 11, Division 10, Division 9, simply because there aren't a lot of defensive teams that are going to break that protection. Same with armor, but once we progress our Jedi to get that Jedi Knight Revan, we no longer use Bastila Shan, and the reason is it adds more offense, plus you can get that recovery when you call in assists. This is why Bo-Katan is the Jedi Knight Revan of Mandalorians, because with these assists, you are gaining 8% health and protection back. Now, this is when we swap her into the leadership for the armorer. Her leadership goes in here, final text, when the Mandalorian ally uses a basic ability during their turn, they call a random Mandalorian ally to assist, dealing 20% less damage, limit once per turn. So this is giving you extra recovery, just like your Jedi Knight Revan. And then whenever a Mandalorian ally attacks at a turn, they get stacking critical damage until the end of their next turn. So not only are they calling assists, which is giving them protection, they're getting more critical damage, and at the start of the encounter, the Mandalorian allies are granted the ability Ancestral Armor. We'll talk about this in just a little bit after I finish ranting about how unbelievably Jedi Knight Revan-esque. This feels copy and paste to me. Does this feel copy and paste to you a little bit from the Jedi kit? I know they kind of mixed around the wording a little bit, but similar viability. Do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely see some similarities there for sure.
All right, so let's hop into at the end of the encounter, we talked about this Ancestral Armor. This is a big sticking point of her leadership ability. Ancestral Armor, dispel all debuffs on the character, then gain a bunch of stuff. Defense up, taunt, tenacity up for 2 turns. Now, the taunt is really what's going to be important. This is basically a forced taunt, and I'm sure lots of people have already talked about this, but we're trying to find viability for Beskar Armor Mandalorian, or BAM as everyone calls him at this point. This could, if you can get the speeds right, and it's going to take a little bit of mixing and matching in terms of the modding to get the speed right. I know APGAINS modding, not necessarily something you thought you'd hear in a video, but if you can get BAM to go right before so that he can apply his damage or whatever it is, and then eventually he can get that Ancestral Armor on him. I'm not necessarily sure if this is something that she applies to someone or they apply to themselves.
It seems like, granted ability leads me to believe that every character is going to have the option to use this ability.
Okay, yeah. So that maybe
kind of tacked on to their kit.
So maybe this won't necessarily work for BAM. I've heard a lot of people talk about how BAM could have like an undamageable taunt, but now that I'm seeing that it's probably self-inflicted, you can't do that one turn.
It is a little ambiguous, the wording here, though, so I guess we'll have to kind of wait.
CG does that a lot, though. It really irks me sometimes. Their verbiage is terrible when they do these kit reveals, which always gets me to question what they're going for.
I wonder if they kind of do that to kind of get the hype machine going. You start getting all these people like us talking about, it could
all
be
the
this,
theory
that,
crafts, yeah.
And it all hinges sometimes on 1 or 2 words,
Yeah.
For me, for the Ancestral Armor, it's granted ability. Really, the word granted. To me, it sounds kind of like I don't know, kind of like you'd see some Jedi lesson style type stuff with JML.
So if it is given or granted, if we're using it in the literal sense, it's granted by Bo-Katan, which I'm really hoping then our force taunts plus a damage immunity might work. If it ends up being something that you have to activate your own, like under Jedi Master Luke, they have that last ability that all the Jedi can apply. If it's like that, not necessarily so much. But the theory crafts are finally coming in. If we scroll back up to the top, we can see some of the main Mandalorian characters that she could be used with. Obviously, Jango Fett is probably not being put in. Same with Mando. But we have Beskar Armor Mando, Armor, Sabine Wren. Oh, I'm going to talk about this later. These 2 characters got slight buffs, but we're probably going Bo-Katan lead if we're late game, or armor lead if we're early game, plus Bam, plus Sabine, maybe plus Candace, because OR teams kind of suck. And then, what do you think do you think Candace is going to be in there? How are you feeling like people are most commonly going to use this team?
This is where I had a lot of thoughts. I feel like we're not done with this faction. We're not seeing the last of this faction. And I'll relate it back again to the Jedi Knight Revan thing and the Bastila Shan thing.
Mm-hmm.
When Bastila Shan came out, for those of us that remember, she was all the rage. Everyone loved her. She was, shot up in the meta, all that good stuff, and everybody hailed her as the queen of the Jedi, basically. And literally, it had to have been about the same amount of time between the armor and Bo-Katan that Jedi Knight Revan dropped. And everyone, all of a sudden, every Bastila was just shuttled, to the reinforcement slot or whatever. So I think we're not done seeing the rest of this Mandalorian squad. I see 3 characters from the Mandalorian show and 3 characters that have nothing to do with anything. Mm-hmm. So I think more are coming.
I really hope we get some characters, because yes, Sabine Wren with the little rework that we'll talk about in just a second. I don't even know if it's posted
Sabine
here.
Could stay for sure. I
don't know if it's posted here, but she got like a slight rework, nothing crazy. But I can't imagine they want us using Candace. I feel like he's definitely just like you wouldn't necessarily use Plo Koon for a Jedi Knight Revan lead. Like, you could use him; he's technically a Jedi, but not necessarily.
Right.
And I find it really interesting, because we've talked about this personally before, about the Bastila Shan and switching to the Jedi Knight Revan meta switch. Isn't it funny that you say just about the same amount of time that Armor came out to Bo-Katan came out, Bastila Shan came out?
A month, right?
They're the same kits. The Armor is Bastila Shan in terms of kit, literally the same character, just reskinned. Bo-Katan seems to be reskinned Jedi Knight Revan, minus like the stun and the target lock. Like, these characters, I feel like they're just like going into their greatest hits album and then like doing remixes of the same songs. Like, these characters
with
are
minor updates and skins and stuff. Yeah, that makes
eerily
sense.
Similar. They're the
so
same.
where do you think this fits into the meta, if at all?
Personally, I think these characters are not going to be as good as the Jedi Knight Revan equivalent just yet. Right. I mean, if you can... Some people are theory crafting. I saw on my Discord, someone told me Jango Fett lead plus Mando plus Bo-Katan plus Armor plus Bam. Like, maybe you could get the Annihilate off, but people are reaching too far. I think you're going to use them the same way you would use the Jedi Knight Revan equivalent. I think you can throw in, if you're an early game player, Division 11, Division 10, Division 9. You're going to have a Bastila Shan, Jolie Bindo Yoda team. You're going to get your 62 banners, or your 63 banners if you 2-man it. You're going to have your armor team, and you're going to throw in Bam and Bo-Katan, and you're going to get your 63 or 62 banners, depending on how undersized you go. And then as you progress to Division 8, 7, 6, you're going to throw in Bo-Katan, and you're going to use it the same way you're going to use Jedi Knight Revan. I think they're just going to be an extra option for the same viability. So the teams you're going to counter with your Jedi, you're going to counter with your bounty hunters, if that makes sense. I don't think it's going to really replace anything. I think it's just going to allow people who can quickly like divert their farms into this to have an extra option. So like if your General Grievous doesn't go so well, obviously General Grievous would work because you don't have the Jolie Bindo revive yet. I'm going to throw a caveat. What are we going to get? Duchess Satine with a revive ability? I don't know if CG is that unrealistic.
She's one of those characters that retreats,
Yeah. Oh, but then we could do our Duchess Satine plus our Hoda plus our C-3PO plus our Watson Bon Mothma. Yes, oh my goodness, that'd be crazy. But yeah. But I think for the early-ish mid-game, I think these guys are going to be used exactly the same way that your Jedi team is going to be used until we find out what that 4th and 5th character are.
The one wrench I see in that plan, and it's not really a big wrench, is you do have to farm up all those peripheral characters to get Beskar Mando. Who, I mean, mixed reviews on. Is he worth?
He's absolutely not. I mean, okay.
I think
yesterday I would have told you absolutely no.
11 for sure. I couldn't think of the number. I almost said 88. IG 11. I love him.
Yeah, he is. He's. I mean, the team is somewhat viable. Not really. As you progress into after Division 5, none of the characters are really useful unless you relic them. And obviously, if you relic characters, they infinitely become more useful. But the problem is, are they as good as other relic characters? No, they're not.
And when
yesterday.
you're that early, you have to make tough choices, and
Exactly.
That's not gonna cut it.
So is this gonna replace the Jedi rush at the beginning for early game players? Absolutely not. Is it gonna be useful for people who already have these characters? Like, let's say you have armor because you did the marquee, and you're gonna have Bo-Katan because you did the marquee, and then they come out with another Mandalorian character and you get them because of the marquee. And then you just have them at 3 stars, but you're Division 10. You throw in an armor lead, you get them up to like gear 11, maybe gear 10. They have okay mods. They have a couple of Zetas. They could be absolutely viable for the first couple of divisions. Like you could win your grand arenas using these teams. The problem is,
and that depth is so important early on because you just don't have it.
Exactly.
There's no depth. you have one good team and everyone else is garbage.
But since these characters are like literally handed to you on a silver platter from marquee characters, that's where I find they're going to have the most usefulness is for the very early game players. But
that's what I was going to say as well. The ease of farming here, with the exception of Beskar Mando, and that's not even that hard if we think about it. Compared to I spend a lot of time talking about GLs and making farming guides on how to get them and that kind of stuff. And I mean that's like a next level grind. Compared to Beskar Mando and even someone like Jedi Knight Luke, who I was surprised when I looked back at his requirements, they're really not that bad at all.
Yeah, they're actually fairly easy.
And that's something that I think CG is leaning more towards now. It was bad with the Galactic Legends.
The first two.
When the first 2 dropped, and then when the second 2 dropped, I think it was even a little bit worse. And I know people that quit when they announced those requirements. They were like, I'm not doing this. I can't do this anymore. And then since then it seems like they really kind of, I don't know, shaped up or whatever. And every grind they've announced since then has been what I would consider to be very manageable.
They've been definitely more reasonable, I would say. I'm just waiting. We're gonna get Galactic Legend Beskar armor Grogu with his like shifter lightsaber. Then it's gonna be like, oh my god, all you guys who had Beskar and Mandalorian, it's finally gonna pay off. But that'll be like 5 years from now.
And honestly, I kind of give it up to the developers for that. They put out a character that like Beskar Mando, for example. A lot of people don't really like him or whatever. And then so what's gonna happen is a lot of people aren't gonna go get him because they hear all these other people saying he's not that good. And then down the line, there's going to be this incredible character come out, and he's the chief requirement for it, and everyone's going to be way behind the 8 ball. But the people that kind of, I guess just did it for fun or whatever, they're rewarded because they had the crystal ball, I guess, or just got lucky.
That's literally the only reason I have Beskar and Mandalorian. I only unlocked Bam because I knew that something in the future was going to come out, and I was going to regret not having him, especially since I make YouTube videos. Like, I need to have him. It sucked. Yeah. I hated the grind so unbelievably much. I was miserable for like 2 straight months. I'm in the middle of it right now on
one of my accounts. It's annoying. It's very passive. I don't do any refreshes or anything. I just kind of let it build up, and it is excruciatingly slow.
It was terrible. And they had us believe that you could have all the characters through the Cantina farms if you just did like 2 or 3 refreshes a day. And I was like 2 whole stars short, and I was so mad.
I do have at this point. I do have 7-star Moff Gideon. I thought they placed him on a really nice node.
Yeah, dude. I still gotta get my Moff Gideon.
All right, I get it.
All right. Final closing statements. Bo-Katan. Do you think there's gonna be another character coming in the next couple of months? It's gonna completely revolutionize how we discuss this team, or do you think it's gonna be another character that goes in line with the same thing we've been talking about, how this character is gonna be utilized?
I think it's gonna go in line. I think I would say probably Bo-Katan is probably going to end up being the most popular Mandalorian leader. Again, similar to the Bastila Jedi Knight Revan thing. So I think we are looking at our final Mandalorian leader. What I do think is going to happen is we might see a couple more marquee characters or a couple other things,
like support characters.
Yeah, or maybe even old characters that people hadn't considered might pop up in the that aren't Mandalorians or maybe scoundrels or something. Nest, who knows? Maybe they find a place here. And because Nest has always kind of been out on her own, she's just kind of plug and play.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe she finds a home here or something. But there's, we'll see. I think there's more to the story here that we don't have all the information to. So
I think they're definitely holding on I don't know how close CG is with Disney, but they're definitely holding on to something. Like they have to have a plan at this point, since the way the kits work, they have to have something in the bank. But
yeah, I'm
hoping
excited to see the Mandalorian tag and the Mandalorian faction. That's all relatively new, and that's cool to see. Interesting that I'm noticing now the combination of light and dark side characters, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's gonna make it kind of annoying in territory wars. Not territory wars, but territory battles. I found that really annoying with the the OG Mandalorian. I find it so annoying that I can't use him in my territory battles.
Yes.
So I don't know. Maybe they'll make them. I wish they would make them neutral so we could use them. I mean,
they should be neutral, because I 100% agree with a lot of the scoundrels. Definitely, the bounty hunters should be neutral. Mm-hmm. Their only affiliation is to whoever's paying them. So if Luke paid them, they'd be light side. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. They have no.
Maybe it depends on who the leader is. That would be cool. That would be really pretty funny. But they're not going to do that. That would be hilariously awesome, but they wouldn't do that. Man. All right.
Now I wish they did that. That's cool.
I know. That just came to me, and that would be a fantastic idea. CG, I know you hate me, but
I'll call my people.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. All right, the Star Wars guy. As always, it was fantastic to have you on here. I don't know if anyone's even still watching after 21 minutes of us being nerds, but I'll link your channel. Always a pleasure to have you on. Hopefully, I'm on your channel again sometime soon. Yes. Any closing remarks for the 69th Precinct? Words of wisdom?
Nothing at all. You guys know everything you need to know.
We keep our heads empty at all time.
Right. Absolutely. You either know enough or not enough, but you know.
We know. All right, man. Thanks for being on. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you guys later.